The city never slept, but tonight it felt as though it was holding its breath. Neon lights flickered against the midnight fog, painting strokes of pink, blue, and gold across the narrow streets. Car horns hummed far away, and the restless energy of millions of people pulsed around the skyscrapers like a heartbeat. But high above the noise, standing on the rooftop edge of a towering building, was Xiao Zhan, silent, still, and strangely calm. He wasn't hiding. He wasn't running. He was waiting. His long coat fluttered gently in the wind as he stared into the distance. Beneath him, the city's lights shimmered like a constellation turned upside down. For weeks he had been chased, by mysteries, by fate, by the truth he couldn't speak aloud. But tonight someone else was chasing him. Someone whose presence he felt before any sound reached his ears. And then it came, the subtle echo of boots on metal stairs. A figure emerged from the shadows, lit by the glow of the neon sky. Wang Yibo stepped forward, eyes sharp, jaw set, breath steady. But beneath that cool surface, his heart was racing just as wildly as Xiao Zhan's. Their eyes locked. And suddenly the whole city faded away. For months they had danced around each other like two storms destined to collide. They had fought side by side, argued intensely, laughed in the quiet corners of forgotten alleys, and shared moments so intimate they felt like secrets carved into time. But the most dangerous truth of all was the one neither had dared to say aloud, until fate forced them here, under the night where everything changed. Xiao Zhan broke the silence first. "You shouldn't have followed me." Yibo stepped closer, voice low, vibrating with both frustration and longing. "You disappear without a word and expect me to stay put? You know me better than that." Xiao Zhan exhaled slowly, his eyes softening. "I didn't want you involved in this. You don't get to choose that for me," Yibo said. "Not anymore." The rooftop wind whipped around them, yet the tension between their bodies burned warm, bright, undeniable. Yibo came so close they were only inches apart. His voice cracked ever so slightly. "I've chased you long enough. Tell me the truth now." Xiao Zhan swallowed hard. The truth tasted like danger. The truth felt like love. He closed his eyes for a moment, gathering courage, and when he opened them again, something unguarded flickered inside. "I left because it was the only way to keep you safe." Yibo laughed, but not from amusement. It was a hollow sound, sharp and aching. "Safe? Do you still not understand? I don't care about danger. I care about you." Xiao Zhan's breath faltered. Every wall he'd built, every lie he'd told himself, every fear he'd buried, Yibo shattered them with one sentence. But before either man could say more, a sudden explosion lit the sky behind them. The shockwave rattled the rooftop rails, and debris scattered like falling stars. Sirens wailed in the distance. Chaos was spreading fast, and Xiao Zhan knew exactly who caused it. The man hunting him, and now hunting Yibo too. Yibo's hand instinctively reached for Xiao Zhan's wrist. "We need to go." Xiao Zhan looked at their connected hands, a spark of warmth blooming in his chest despite the danger. "We should split up. It's the only way." Yibo tightened his grip. "I'm not letting you go again." The rooftop door burst open. A group of masked pursuers stormed out, weapons ready, their silhouettes sharp against the neon haze. Xiao Zhan and Yibo exchanged a single look, fierce, loyal, unspoken. "Run." They sprinted across the rooftop, dodging bullets that buzzed past like angry fireflies. The wind roared in their ears, and the rooftop edge came closer and closer. But they didn't slow down. At the last second, Yibo grabbed Xiao Zhan's hand tighter as they leapt together into the night. Two shadows falling through the sky. Two hearts beating as one. A construction net broke their fall, sending them tumbling with breathless force. They rolled into a narrow alley, groaning as they hit the pavement. But as soon as Xiao Zhan tried to rise, pain shot through him. Yibo was immediately at his side, worry etched across his face. "Are you hurt?" Xiao Zhan winced. "Just my shoulder." Yibo's expression darkened with protectiveness. "Then lean on me." But Xiao Zhan hesitated, not from pride, but from fear of how natural it felt to be held by him. Still, Yibo slipped an arm around him, steady, warm, grounding. They moved through maze-like alleys, footsteps quick and silent, until they reached the abandoned warehouse hidden behind the derelict train yard. Xiao Zhan's secret refuge. Yibo pushed him gently onto a dusty crate and knelt down, tending to the injury like someone who had memorized every curve, every scar, every fragile part of Xiao Zhan's heart. "You're bleeding," Yibo whispered. "It's nothing," Xiao Zhan muttered. "It's something to me." Xiao Zhan froze. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't loud. It was soft, honest, and it hit harder than any bullet. Yibo wiped the blood carefully with trembling fingers. The dim light from a broken window painted his face in shades of silver and blue. He wasn't angry anymore, only scared. Scared of losing him. Finally Xiao Zhan spoke. "The reason I left, the reason I pushed you away, it wasn't just danger." Yibo lifted his eyes slowly. "Then what was it?" Xiao Zhan's voice cracked on the words. "Because every time I looked at you, I wanted a life I didn't think I deserved." Yibo's breath caught. "And every time you chased me," Xiao Zhan continued, "I got weaker. I kept telling myself I couldn't love you, that it was wrong timing, wrong circumstances, wrong everything. But the truth is," he shook vulnerable, "I love you, Yibo." Silence swallowed the room. Not empty silence, the kind that feels like the world has paused to witness something sacred. Yibo moved closer, slowly, like approaching something precious, fragile, irreplaceable. He cupped Xiao Zhan's jaw gently, tilting his face upward. "You didn't have to earn me," Yibo whispered. "You already had me." Something inside Xiao Zhan shattered, beautifully. And when Yibo leaned in, their lips met in a kiss that felt like fire melting through ice, like the city's neon lights bending toward them, like the universe itself sighing in relief. It wasn't rushed. It wasn't hesitant. It was everything they'd been running from, and everything they'd been running toward. When they finally broke apart, foreheads touching, breaths mingling, Xiao Zhan whispered, "Now you know the truth." Yibo smiled softly. "Good. 'Cause now you're not running anymore. If someone wants you, they'll have to chase both of us." Suddenly the warehouse lights flickered. Xiao Zhan stiffened. "They found us." Yibo stood, eyes blazing. "Let them come." Xiao Zhan grabbed Yibo's hand, not to run away but to stand together. Finally together. The doors burst open. Shadows poured in like a tidal wave. But this time the two men fought as one. Their movements were fluid, synchronized, almost choreographed like they had trained in secret for years, one striking while the other blocked, one dodging while the other countered. They were unstoppable. But in the heat of the fight, Xiao Zhan noticed something. One of the attackers wasn't aiming at him. The warehouse grew silent after the attackers fled, leaving only the echo of their footsteps and the soft hum of distant sirens. Dust still floated in the air, illuminated by the early morning sun sneaking through the broken windows. But all Yibo saw was Xiao Zhan. He knelt on the cold floor, holding Xiao Zhan against his chest like something sacred, something fragile, something he could never risk losing. His hands trembled uncontrollably as he checked the wound. It was shallow, painful but not deadly. Relief washed over Yibo like a tsunami, but the fear had left a scar deeper than any bullet could. Xiao Zhan groaned softly and tried to sit up. "I'm fine," he murmured. Yibo's eyes snapped to him, fierce and emotional. "You jumped in front of a bullet. You are absolutely not fine." Xiao Zhan winced as Yibo gently pulled him upright. "It was instinct." "No," Yibo whispered, voice cracking. "It was love. The kind that makes you do stupid, reckless things." Xiao Zhan froze, not because of the pain, but because of Yibo's words. Strong, quiet, straightforward. Words he had longed to hear, feared to hear, and needed to hear all at once. But before either man could say more, a loud metallic crash echoed from outside, the clang of steel hitting pavement. Yibo tensed, ready to fight again, but Xiao Zhan placed a trembling hand on his arm. "Help me stand." Yibo hesitated, then nodded. He wrapped his arm around Xiao Zhan's waist, supporting him as they slowly moved to a safer spot deeper inside the warehouse. The air was thick with tension, but something else was there too. Something warmer, something pulsing with life and longing. Yibo sat Xiao Zhan down on a crate and crouched in front of him. "Why didn't you trust me?" he asked, his voice low but intense. "Why did you leave me in the dark?" Xiao Zhan looked away for a moment, his fingers curling tightly around the edge of the crate. "Because I knew the moment I told you everything, you'd stay. You choose me. You'd run into danger for me. And you didn't want that." Xiao Zhan's answer was a whisper. "I didn't think I deserved it." Yibo's eyes softened instantly, like a storm calming. He reached up and brushed his thumb across Xiao Zhan's cheek, wiping away a faint streak of dust. "You deserve more than you know. You deserve safety. You deserve someone who won't let you face all this alone." The tenderness in Yibo's touch sent a tremor through Xiao Zhan's entire body. The fear, the guilt, the longing, it all coiled tightly in his chest, threatening to spill over. But before he could speak, a shadow moved across the cracked warehouse floor. "Stay behind me," Yibo whispered, instantly rising, ready to shield Xiao Zhan with his body. But the figure that stepped forward was just a stray cat wandering through the broken doorframe, meowing softly before darting away. Yibo exhaled sharply, tension draining from his muscles. Xiao Zhan let out a breathy laugh. Yibo turned back, glaring half playfully. "You think this is funny?" "Maybe a little," Xiao Zhan admitted, his smile small but real. His first real smile in days. Yibo walked back to him, stopping just inches away. "You're still reckless," he said softly. "And you're still overprotective," Xiao Zhan replied. "I have a right to be." Xiao Zhan raised an eyebrow. "A right?" Yibo didn't hesitate this time. He leaned in closer, his forehead brushing Xiao Zhan's. "Because I love you." The words dropped between them like a spark touching gasoline. Xiao Zhan inhaled sharply, heart racing so violently he thought Yibo could hear it. "Say it again," he whispered before he could stop himself. Yibo cupped his face. "I love you." And Xiao Zhan shattered. Every wall, every mask, every fear dissolved. His hands reached up and grasped Yibo's shirt as if anchoring himself to something real for the first time in years. Yibo kissed him. It wasn't desperate or rushed like the first time. It was slow, deep, burning with meaning. Confession, promise, surrender. The kind of kiss that rewrites destinies. When they finally pulled apart, Xiao Zhan's breath trembled. "Yibo, if you stay with me, everything becomes more dangerous." "Then let it," Yibo replied. "Danger doesn't scare me. Losing you does." Xiao Zhan closed his eyes, overwhelmed by the warmth in Yibo's voice. But suddenly he stiffened, turning toward the warehouse entrance. "What is it?" Yibo asked. "Someone's coming," Xiao Zhan whispered. This time, not an enemy. Heavy footsteps echoed outside. Yibo positioned himself defensively, but Xiao Zhan grabbed his sleeve. "No. I know these footsteps." A familiar figure entered the warehouse, one of Xiao Zhan's old allies, someone he had once trusted with his life. The man stopped, breathless, eyes wide when he saw Xiao Zhan injured and Yibo by his side. "You two need to move," he said urgently. "The people hunting you won't stop. They're regrouping. You're targets now, both of you." Yibo scoffed. "Good. Let them try." But Xiao Zhan stood slowly, leaning on Yibo for balance. "We're not running anymore," he said, his voice surprisingly strong. "We're done hiding." His ally stared at them, then nodded. "Then you'd better prepare. Things are about to get worse." Yibo smirked, glancing at Xiao Zhan. "Whatever comes next, we face it together." Xiao Zhan met his eyes, a soft fire burning behind them. Together. The sun rose higher, casting a bright golden light across the warehouse and the two men standing side by side. Tired, bruised, outnumbered. yet more powerful than ever. Because now they weren't just being chased. Now they were ready to chase back. Their love wasn't quiet anymore. It wasn't hidden. It wasn't fragile. It was a force. A burning one. Dangerous one. Beautiful one. A love that had survived fear, bullets, secrets, and shadows, only to emerge stronger, sharper, unstoppable. The story of Xiao Zhan and Wang Yibo wasn't just a chase. It was a war for love. And they had already chosen their side. If you enjoyed this continuation and want more deep, emotional cinematic storytelling, make sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe for the next episode.